welcome to a special episode of the Monday Morning Learning Podcast. We're starting a new series called BSc Se Kya Hoga. Uh, Grateful, Anil sir, for accepting to be the first guest of this first episode.
Thank you.
Most welcome. So we'll start off with your background, sir. I think you were in love with chemistry. Please take us through your career profile quickly, and then we'll start with the questions.
Sure. Yeah. So at the very outset, thank you, Ravikant, for this wonderful opportunity because this is a topic of great interest for everyone, I would say, right? From be it the parents, be it the students, be it the professionals, be it the government, I would say, everybody across are interested in understanding how the basic sciences versus the technology. What is the role and how is it that we have to uh, uh, go through this journey of science versus technology and how effective and how useful each of them are for the growth of the society, right? So this is a very and giving such an opportunity for me being the first one to interact on this topic is really I would consider it as a great honor and at the same time it's my pleasure to be a part of this, right? So my journey had been we were from from my birth, much before my birth. My parents were devotees of Bhagwan Shri Satya Sai Baba, and therefore I too was going to Bhagwan from my very childhood. And post my schooling, Bhagwan had asked me to come and join his institute at Vrindavan at that point of time. Now it's called as Kadugodi campus, right? Vrindavan campus, Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning. At that time, it was Sri Sathya Sai College of Arts, Science and Commerce, affiliated to Bangalore University. This was in 1979. So, and I did my PUC, which is intermediate. There in Karnataka board, it's called as Pre-University College. And post that, the only desire for us was to continue living with Bhagwan. And we had no other thought other than how to continue living with Bhagwan. So the opportunities or the degrees that were provided to us, which were being given by the then college of Sri Sathya Sai College, was BSc, BA, BCom. These were the degrees that Bhagwan had started in that college. So being from a science intermediate PUC, PC, physics, chemistry, maths and bio, all four I had taken. And so I took to BSc. So that's how the choice of BSc had happened. But actually looking back, there's a lot of reason why Bhagwan started a basic science college or a college which caters to the fundamentals of science and knowledge rather than engineering and or technology. Bhagwan could have started a engineering college right away, but there is a reason. There's a lot of profound reasoning behind why Swami has started. Now, looking back, I realize that that is the right way to actually build the young generation for building the nation. It's the basic sciences, basic knowledge that has to be first taught, be it through commerce or arts or even sciences, after which comes in the technology or the applications of each of these basic sciences. So that's the reason I think Bhagwan, also I see that having gone through this basic sciences gives you far better clarity of thought, which is absolutely essential even for our spiritual life. So it caters to both the worldly requirements as well as for our otherworldly journey, right? So I think that's the reason Bhagwan, out of his, we can't say intelligence of Bhagwan, out of his grace, started Arts, Science and Commerce College, which later on became part of the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, which is right now. It's called at the Vrindavan campus of that. So that was my reason why I took BSc. Okay. So, and post BSc, we had to move to the post graduation. And that's when, again, went by Bhagwan's guidance. Bhagwan said I should take chemistry, and that's how I took to chemistry, right? Though actually mine was maths, physics, and chemistry, I could have taken any of them, and I was very comfortable with mathematics. Swami said, take chemistry. And I see actually that has also really benefited me immensely, right? So that's, and post graduation, I did my PhD there in organic chemistry. Then moved on to be a faculty there for close to 1.5 decades or so there, little more longer than 1.5 decades. Post that, I moved because I was deep into organic chemistry, medicinal chemistry, drug discovery, and that was my initial domain area, natural products chemistry. I moved to Dr. Reddy's Institute of Life Sciences, which is at Hyderabad. I was heading their Center for Drug Repurposing. For that, I had headed there for 3 years. Post that, I moved to Tata Chemicals as the head of their innovation center at Pune. So that's where I realized that the power of chemistry, understanding chemistry and its fundamentals, really allowed me to manage multiple verticals. I will take you through that a little later as we go along. And then from there, I moved on to, came back to Hyderabad from Pune after close to 8 to 9 years of work there. And I joined as CTO of Nagarjuna, which later on became Fertis India Private Limited. I was CTO there. Post that, I moved into Shapoorji Pallonji Group because they were starting a healthcare division. Also, Mystery Ventures. They were investing into healthcare as well as agri and energy. So I was the CSO there, managing the ventures as well as the R&D. And post that, I moved into consultancy mode. I'm right now consulting agri as well as healthcare companies. A spectrum of healthcare companies, I would say, right from nutrition to biotechnology to cancer care, developing hardcore drugs for cancer therapy, the natural products chemistry, and also agri solutions, both crop protection and crop nutrition solutions. So chemistry allowed me to really enjoy myself innovating and creating products of value across the vast domain of applications. Right from material science to life sciences, I in fact played with almost all the sectors, I would say, and comfortably I could play. Right, yeah. So that has been my journey. Thanks to Bhagavan, it has been His mercy that I really enjoyed my career so far. Yeah.
Good. So thank you so much for the lovely introduction. Now, the background for BSc say Kya Hoga is the fact that parents like us, we reached out to you twice because the son actually was preferring chemistry, and we thought this, what are the kind of opportunities that he actually have? Is there a life? Is there a career for pure sciences? And these are foundational questions we had, and lucky that we had your contact. So we could pretty clearly see the kind of the way he can actually study, he can do his PhD, and the industries which are actually open for from a career standpoint. So parents like us, there are thousands of them, who will be listening to this particular podcast, sir. And luckily, I'm really thankful to so many PhD scholars or the professors of different universities who have actually commented, looking forward to the first episode as such. The foundational question, again, you touched upon it, pure sciences as a learning path for students, how important it is and how exactly it can actually help them think. I mean, you touched upon it, but if you can expand on that more, and then we'll
Sure.
look at other questions.
Yeah, sure. I think to summarize how pure sciences versus technology and what's the role of pure sciences as compared to technology, means engineering or technology per se. Our scriptures, which we have been fortunate to be the owners of, or which we have received because of being Bharatiyas, right? They have already mentioned this. Hitopadesha, it says, Aneka Samsayochedi. Aneka Samsayochedi means that which removes many samsayas, doubts, right? Paroksharthasya darshanam, that which can make you see paroksha, means that which is not evident, that which is not immediately evident, right? But which can make you see that, right? Sarvasya lochanam shastram. The eye for all this means for your being able, or the ability to see this unseeable, discern the undiscernible, invent the uninvented, discover the one which has not been discovered still, right? The lochanam, the eye for that is shastram. Shastram can be translated as science, right? Yasya nasti anda eva saha. One who doesn't have this is as good as blind. This is what Hitopadesha says. Coming to Chanakya Niti, Chanakya puts it beautifully. He then connects it to the engineering. See, that's where the Chanakya Niti comes in. He says, Anabhyasena Visham Shastram. Shastram, which is not put into practice, becomes as good as a Visham, means poison. That means what? The role of engineering, it's not that one in at the cost of another. No. It is it's something like our ancient scriptures. Again, I'll take the example of Brahma Sutras. So I used to say Brahma Sutra is something like the Lord runs through all the living beings across the universe. How is he? It's like the thread which makes the garland. The thread is invisible, right? But without a thread, you can't make a garland, right? Of course, now people may say, I don't need to use thread, I'll use some gum. But that gum also will be invisible. You can't you can't make a garland without a gum, right? So fundamentally, something which holds everything together, but which is unseen. Science is something like that. The application of science is the engineering and the technology. So it's equally essential that we need to apply the science that we have learned. We can't sit quiet having learned the science. We need to take it to the next level of application of the science to make it of value to the society. That's where engineering and technology comes in. So therefore, science being this fundamental undercurrent, what it trains their young mind is to question, to means to get a clarity of what is the problem statement. In fact, I'm sure Ravi may be knowing, in most of the innovations or making the life better for any and every one of us, the fundamental first step is to really understand the problem in its depth. Threadbare understanding of the problem is what actually makes the solution already inherent in that defining the problem itself, right? So that threadbare understanding of the problem, that clarity of thought comes from getting trained in pure science. Without the pure science, the ability to question, the ability to understand, the ability to analyze, and the way a pure science gives you the training will not become natural for an individual, right? So that's the reason why BSc se kya hoga, kya nahi hoga, I would say, right? Because the mind gets sharp, and once the intellect is sharp, right? After that, applying that sharp intellect is not at all difficult, right? I would take it a step further, because I'm sure nowadays people may question, AI has come, so what's the need of going to science? AI will do all that I require, right? And AI will help me innovate, and I'll straight away go into the application, which is technology and engineering. What is the need for a pure science? I'm sure a number of people nowadays are posing this question, right? And number of colleges across our country are getting hit. Pure sciences courses, BSc, chemistry, biology, physics, they're getting really hit because of this kind of thought process of how AI will influence, and how AI is making these things redundant. No, I would say what happens is, see, AI is after all based on what we feed into it, right? The past, I would say, right? So what happens after that? It then connects dots, fine. comes up with a little greater, rather than just seeing the whatever literature is there and giving output. It connects dots and then also gives suggestions of what is a better solution that we can look at. All the same, most of the solutions that you and me are very familiar with invariably have come out of, they call it as serendipity, or they have come out of intuition. Intuitive discoveries are breakthroughs, are disruptive, right? Intuition comes from, we, in our Sanskrit term, we call it as buddhi. Okay. Buddhi translated to English is clarified intelligence. Intelligence which is sharp, can see something beyond just connecting dots. So AI can never replace a human. This is an answer for it. I am very convinced about this. AI can never replace a human. The reason is human has this ability of clarified intellect. Suddenly there will be a flash of realization, I would put it, as it's a too powerful a word, but a flash of something which is not very obvious. And from where does that flash come? It is through a sharp intellect which has been trained over years. When it sees a problem, it is now able to suddenly take a quantum leap, not just depend on the past or not just connect dots, but take a quantum leap and say, this is a possibility. It can be tried. Right? So that is therefore, AI can never replace pure sciences. Pure sciences training is a must if a person has to really, in fact, because of the present day situation of AI being there, it is all the more necessary that every youngster goes through this pure science training, sharpens his or her intellect, then becomes capable of contributing better than AI to the growth of the nation. Right? Therefore, it becomes absolutely essential now under these conditions that pure science has training is a must. BSc level, I would say BSc to graduate, to undergraduate to postgraduate level, we need to have a pure science input given in a very, very defined, structured manner to every youngster. That will really build the nation. Right? So I hope I've answered your question broadly. I've taken you through that, right? Yeah.
So we'll go through some questions on your career deep dives, so the real work which you actually did in different companies. As you said, you built multiple SBUs in nutrition, cosmetics, pharma, and agri formulations across completely different industries. So can you walk us through one specific moment or moments where your chemistry foundation gave you an insight that an engineer in the same room simply didn't have?
Oh, yeah. Number of them, I would say, not just one. They're pretty fascinating. I hope I will not take more time. Please let me know if I'm, because once I start that, I myself get quite um, excited and enthused to recall all those experiences, right? So before I start that, I would actually, means being from a chemistry profession, right? Being a practitioner of chemistry, so it obviously, it's but natural for me to talk more about chemistry and say chemistry is far better than the other pure sciences. It's not to limit the other sciences, but chemistry has its advantages. And what is the advantage? Chemistry is by its very nature, it cuts across the so-called diversity of sciences that we see around us, right? Means right from life sciences to material sciences to energy to semiconductor, name a field, to I would say space technology, right? Chemistry becomes a component of this. Not just a component, a chemist understands these far better at a granular level than the one who is actually practicing that. The reason is chemistry, by definition, is a molecular science. See, atomic physics or quantum physics deals with the subatomic particles, right? Or the atomic nature of the nature that we see around us, right? The classical physics deals with the gross matter, Newtonian physics, we call it as, right? The laws that govern planets or gross bodies, how they move, the velocity, all that is governed by the classical physics, right? In between is the molecular world, right? Which physics doesn't really touch much about. The molecular world is actually dealt with in detail by chemistry. The modern day chemistry also takes into supramolecular chemistry, which is also molecular world, except that the size of the molecule is far bigger. So it's the biomolecules, the proteins, the polymers, the carbohydrates, or molecular agglomerates, right? Like the lipid bilayer that we talk about. So all these things come under the chemistry domain of chemistry. So a chemist, by his very training, his or her very training, is understanding molecule at its root, right? Why does a molecule behave the way it is behaving under given circumstances? How do I modulate it so that it behaves the way I want it to behave, right? Is what a chemist is trained about. And now you now look at this molecule. Where is the molecule not available? Be it the paint coating, the surface coatings of anything or everything that we see, be it the polymers that make the car body, right? Be it the metal or metallurgy world, be it the life sciences where a cell is nothing but a conglomeration of ordered structure of molecules, right? Be it the life sciences segment, be it the microbiology segment, name a field, be it the energy, right? Everywhere and anywhere, we see that the molecules play a vital role, and understanding these molecules and ability to modulate the behavior of these molecules, right, becomes essential to be able to contribute to that field, right? So this is how we position the chemistry. I position the chemistry. Just to take it a little further before I go into my own experiences of what we had done. I won't say I had done. The team had done during my career. Bhagwan himself used to give a beautiful analogy of how the sciences are placed with respect to each other. Bhagwan used to say that chemistry is also called rasayana, right? Rasayana Shastra is chemistry. Rasa means liquid. In fact, molecular world, predominantly a moving, free-flowing molecules is the liquid, right? So the liquid state is the chemistry. When this solidifies, you get the gross bodies, that is the physics. Study of that is physics. And from that non-living, the whole earth and the silica and all that came the life forces, right? So the study of life forces is the biology, right? And beyond biology comes the sociology, anthropology, and all that. So the biology is on the top, then comes physics. Below physics, the foundation to these two is the chemistry. And Swami took it to a next level too. Bhagwan took it to a next level. He said, for the liquid to be held, you need a container. You can't have liquid without a container, right? And that container is divinity, Swami said. Right? So in that sense, chemistry is closest to divinity. And it's true too. It's really fascinating when you look at nature at a molecular level. So fascinating. We will be more than convinced that there is divine which is running this whole molecular world. Because the way things are happening at a molecular level is beyond explanation. And it is thrilling. Absolutely thrilling. So pure sciences also give you that one beautiful joy for every student of pure sciences. You understand the nature in far greater depth than a person who is not taken into pure sciences. So you really enjoy nature around you. For that matter, where we see a tree next to another tree or grass blades next to another grass blade, they are not sitting quiet there. They are also communicating with each other like you and me. The communication is at a molecular level. It's a chemical signal that's happening there. They communicate with insects. They communicate with microorganisms. All this is happening all around us. So as a chemist, we tend to see all this happening. Right? So there is a kind of deep joy that we get when we actually look around and say, oh my God, there's so much of activity there all around us. There's so much of life and joy that is happening all around us, right? So that's the background to chemistry. It is, as I said, again, I would put this disclaimer. It's not that I'm putting down any other pure sciences. It is just that perspective that I have got in chemistry is far greater as compared to the other subjects, and therefore I will speak more about chemistry. That's it. So, right. So, having said that, the chemistry applications are across the fields. I would first take you to my journey in Tata Chemicals itself, because different verticals used to report. There was a energy fuel cell vertical. There was chemicals vertical, means the bulk chemicals, because Tata Chemicals is predominantly soda ash. In fact, the second largest producer of soda ash in the country, in the world. So soda ash production, and that to millions of ton scale, it's produced soda ash, right? Salt, soda ash, and those things. Then there was a nutraceutical and food vertical, and there was agri vertical, because Rallis is a part of Tata Chemicals. So agri and crop protection. That's where actually I got introduced to crop protection, crop nutrition, the chemistry of them, and I got a part of the agri. I really took to the agri chemistry very well, and it became a passion for me down the line. So that's the reason why I moved to Nagarjuna from Tata Chemicals, because agri became a huge passion. Agri and Nutra are, even to this day, are my passion. So there was an agri vertical reporting. There was nanotechnology vertical. We are working extensively on nanosilica, which is now SBU created for Tata Chemicals, which got originated when I was actually there. It was through our ideation. Nanosilica, or silica, as another bulk chemical for various applications. We initiated the whole process development, making of nanosilica and various grades of nanosilica, all that we did. And so that's another vertical. So nanotechnology used to report to me. There was another vertical was working on waste to value, means the how do we make ethanol from agri waste, right? How do we make xylitol from agri waste? All this kind of waste to value thing was also a huge vertical that was working. So it was multiple verticals, right? From energy, and of course, yeah, paints and coatings for car and car. Tata Motors, lightweighting the Tata motor component, the body components, polymer chemistry was also reporting. So right from the automobile industry to energy to natural nutraceuticals, which is purely life sciences, right? Prebiotics. In fact, we developed a prebiotic through fermentation technology, fructooligosaccharides, which has also become a SBU for Tata Chemicals now, right? So that's also another one that we created. In fact, nutraceuticals, that is prebiotics and silica, we created during because of R&D in Tata Chemicals. Tata Chemicals was only in soda ash and salt till then, right? It was our this one that we created these two verticals through R&D, right? So and how is chemistry valuable here, and how is it that we saw solutions where others, means the normal engineering people could not see? I'll give you the best example being trona. Trona is actually a natural occurring ore. The name is given as trona. It is soda ash ore, right? And Kenya, there's a huge lake which contains this soda ash ore, right? And it was having a small, less than 1% contamination of sodium fluoride, right? So the issue was, we want to utilize this naturally occurring soda ash, because as I told you, Tata Chemicals is the largest producer of soda ash. And this natural lake, which contains trillions of tons of soda ash, right, and keeps getting produced on a continuous basis, can be used. But if this one less than 1% impurity of the sodium fluoride is removed from the soda ash that is available, so sodium carbonate se sodium fluoride separate karna chahiye. Now the issue is what we have: huge 99 point, I would say 8% is soda ash, 0.2% or less than 0.2% or max being 0.5% was sodium fluoride. And the operations, as I told you, of soda ash is in millions of tons per annum. So the factory, so your solution has to be cost effective, right? It can't be, I use the cutting edge science and create some very unusual chemistry to make this separation happen. It has to be at the cost of maybe 10 paisa per kg type cost we need to arrive at, because millions of tons are going to be processed, right? So at that scale, if I have to develop a solution, what is the way out? So this was a major problem that Tata Chemicals was going through, which once the innovation center started, they handed it over to us, right? So from the Mithapur construction, sorry, not construction, the plant, chemical plant, it was transferred to us. And what did we use? I won't go into the solution because it will take too much time. What did we use? We use simple common ion effect and solubility product of how this, because of common ion effect, how the solubility product of sodium fluoride changes, right? And we developed a cost effective solution for toner, which was, I would say, less than 10 paisa per kg. Pure, just use the basic chemistry knowledge, nothing else. We used, in fact, I would say, school level chemistry knowledge. Common ion effect, I'm sure most of the students will know. Solubility product also they will know. These were what we used to come up with a solution, right? I'll give you another example, which is from agri sector. Because Tata Global Beverages is also part of the Tata Group, right? Our Tata Chemicals Innovation Center, though it was under Tata Chemicals, it was like the one-stop solution for all chemistry-related problems of the whole Tata Group. So be it Tata Motors, be it Tata Auto Components, be it Tata Global Beverages, be it Tata Power Energy sector, they used to come to us they used to pose the problem to us and say, अगर हो सके तो कुछ करो, right? So that's how we were given one challenge, which was also a 50 to 70-year-old challenge by then, by the time it came to us. This coffee, Tata Coffee, Tata Global Beverages has Tata Coffee, right? The coffee plantations are actually major two types, the Coffea Arabica and Coffea Robusta. The Arabica gives the flavor, Robusta gives the thickness, right? This Arabica plant was getting infected by an insect called coffee stem borer. I'm giving you a simple English name, right? It's a stem borer. The unusual part of this insect is it gets the female lays the egg, it becomes the larva, then goes into, it bores itself into middle of this stem, lives there for close to one month to 45 days, grows nicely, eats up actually during that time the whole core of the coffee stem, then comes out as a fully grown adult, spends 28 days only, less than a month. Life cycle is over. It again lays eggs, male, female life cycle will be over. It lays the eggs and it's gone. So you can't catch it. 28 days, you can't catch the insect. It spends most of its time inside the coffee stem and it infects only the Coffea arabica, which is the one which actually gives us the flavor, right? So coffee plantations were really struggling. What did we do? Should we just do away with arabica? Should we move to robusta and do away with arabica once and for all, right? So they were really, in fact, Coffee Board of India also reached out to us saying that, can you find some solution? And we used a simple, it's right now being used there. We used a simple methodology of saying what is crystalline for us will be thorny for the insect. So we made nanocrystalline silica, because already nanosilica was a vertical which was there that R&D was going on. Then we understood at a chemistry, we understood the crystallinity of silica. So nanocrystalline silica we made and coated it onto the stems of this Coffea arabica. The insect female comes to lay the eggs, right? It gets irritated. It's a deterrent. It can't lay the egg because it can't stay there because it's thorny for the insect. So it stopped going on to the coffee arabica. So a very simple, the chemistry component is how to make nano, small, thorny, inorganic material which will stay on the stem is the chemistry part. So that's how the chemistry really came to. So it was not a big challenge that we could not solve, right? We did lot of analysis, tried to understand. Then we said, why can't we just create a deterrent rather than putting anything that will kill? Because we can't kill the insect; it's just unavailable to for killing. The egg, the time when it lays the eggs, it's normally cool, and all those areas are pretty humid. Whatever you spray gets washed off, right? So the amount of spray also will become too much. And larva, invariably, larvicidal agents are very high concentration we need to put. So all this analysis we did, and we said, why not we create something which is thorny for the insect, make it irritant for it to come and even sit on the stems, right? So we created through just simple chemistry, we created a nano thorn that can sit on it. So to sit on it, we put some binder. That's all the other part of it, right? So that is how the basic chemistry knowledge came to. I'll give you another example from food itself now, right? So I'm giving you a few examples to show you how across the domains, right, chemistry can be applied. Right now, coming to food technology, we they said the Tata, and now it's called Tata Consumer Products Private Limited (TCPL). Right, earlier that division was with Tata Chemicals. The Tata Sampan was with Tata Chemicals when we were there. So they wanted to introduce low sob basin which will absorb very less oil. Actually, the story is also quite fascinating. It came from a vada pav maker. So our marketing team keeps going around. They were selling their Tata Sampan products, right? The basin, the dals and all that. The basin is sold to the vada pav maker maximum, right? So he said, "Ye acha nahi hai ye basin. What is the reason? I want to make more vadas per kg of the basin. Also, I want to make it less oil absorbing. Then it becomes far more exciting for me. Another brand is able to give this. So they came back and said, this is a problem statement. Can you do something? And we went into again fundamentals of science and understood what is the particle nature of the basin. We realized that the basin is actually coated with hydrophilic exterior, the particle of basin. So it is, if you are able to pack it well, water can't stay there. If you pack it with gaps in between, it's like stones, putting the stones together, right? If you create gap in between, water will come and stay there because it's hydrophilic. So water will just hold it tightly, and so the amount of water that is held by basin becomes more, right? So the amount of vadas that will come out of a kg of basin will become less because the amount of water becomes more, right? And also this, when we put it in oil, water gets replaced with oil. So it will, the amount of, it will start almost dripping with oil when they take it out, right? So the solution was, then we realized the solution is just to pack it together, right? So we use a simple, I won't go into that now. We use a very simple methodology of packing the basin particles tightly together and make the basin powder. It will look for the naked eye to be the same, but actually it is much better packed basin particles as compared to the other one. And this gave much more vadas per kg. It's also, that's why they now called it as low sob basin. It became the flagship product of Tata Sampan when we were there. It was launched immediately, right? So it's really fascinating. You can apply it across domains. And then okay, I'll take you to fuel cell. Fuel cell, the problem is actually fuel cell can be made quite cost effective, right? The issue is the membrane. We used to work on a proton exchange fuel cell, right? So proton has to pass through a membrane from one chamber to another. And that membrane was a monopoly of a company. I won't name the company, US company. Nafion is the name of the membrane, right? That Nafion membrane was the only most efficient membrane that was doing the proton exchange in the most efficient manner. And it was very expensive, right? Per square centimeter of that Nafion itself was pretty expensive. So we took and we said, this is a challenge. Why can't we replace the membrane ourselves? We chemistry knowledge, we developed our own membrane
Wow.
and solved the problem, right? So that's where I was saying, wherever it be the application is, having a knowledge of chemistry really makes it quite easy for us to understand the problem at that molecular level, right? And develop solutions at a molecular level. Yes, after that, technology has to come in to make the membrane thin enough, whatever size we want. I won't say, that's where I said, no, it's not that it is in the cost of another. Technology is equally relevant. Engineering is equally relevant. It is needed, right? To finally make it a applicable material, you need engineering to pitch in, right? But the step before that, this is where I would say everyone knows a missile person who has developed the technology or the design of a missile, say Agni missile, right? But there are people who have made the rocket propulsion, the fuel, the most efficient fuel. Who are they? They will be chemists, right? So they will not be seen. These pure science people are not going to be in the front end. There's no glamour associated with pure science. That may be one of the reasons why pure science is not taken to by youngsters, is because glamour is associated with pure science. Because it gets lost in the product. Pure science isn't there in the product. It's there as a background. As I told you, Brahma Sutra, it is a hidden thing which makes the thing happen. But what is there external is the technologies. For example, right now I'm with the laptop with you. The technology has made the laptop which is looking this beautiful, right? Okay, the touch screen and all that. This is a technology. But what has gone behind this making of all this is the pure science, right? So pure science is that kind of that which actually becomes a part and parcel of the product, right? So these are some of the experiences I can take you through Dr. Reddy's, where we did the drug discovery, nutraceuticals and all that. Each of them is a journey in itself, but it's beautiful, fascinating. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I think I can actually visualize, three people listening as we speak, parents and the kid together, and a lot of insights, practically how exactly chemistry can be used and in the industries across the board you mentioned. So keeping also them in our mind, what would you actually advise, at the cusp of 11th and 12th, the students will actually have to choose in terms of the streams, right? Chemistry is definitely one of them. In terms of the career pathing, in terms of what they need to study. So is BSc the only option, BSc, MSc chemistry, and the PhD is the only option, or any other pathways which are existing, sir?
So in BSc, or it's called BS, it doesn't matter. BSc, MSc, undergraduate, graduate is a must be, whether they take physics or biology. In biology, now it is all various branches of biology, right? Each of them is a separate branch by itself: microbiology, molecular biology, genetics, and so on, right? So, and then or chemistry. We have to do undergrad and postgrad. Postgrad, where we tend to specialize in in one of these sub branches of this subject, right? Post that, you don't need to necessarily take to PhD. That's one option. Alternate option is you can take to MTech. GATE, you write GATE, take to MTech, go off into the technology domain. A science graduate going into technology, I am very, very certain their contribution to the industry will be far, far greater and better than a pure BTech, MTech guy. Right? So this path to MTech, I would say, is far better. Nowadays, and a post-graduation degree is becoming a norm, natural. It's a normal now, right? Earlier, it was undergrad was enough. Now it's postgrad is a must, right? So anyway, MTech is being done. I would rather suggest do a BSc, MSc and go move to MTech. Right? Get good score, get into a premier institute, do MTech there of your choice. Right? So this is the path. It take to PhD, postdoc can be done, right? From PhD also you can move to, actually job is not it's not that a pure science graduate does not get job. I somehow I'm really surprised why that is general notion across the people around. They think engineer or a doctor or a CA gets a job quite fast. Not necessarily so for pure sciences, because you have a whole lot of CSAR institutes, whole lot of IITs or NI. Means I'm now talking about just government institutions. You have a whole lot of CSAR institutes, whole lot of R&D centers. Every industry has a R&D center. Now, in fact, the reason industry is now creating a R&D center is because unless they are constantly innovative, they cannot be competitive. The industry will disappear. As I told you, Tata Chemicals, when we joined, was only doing soda ash and that Tata salt. They were the two main things, and Tata Sampann brand. That's all was Tata Chemicals. It was through innovation we created nanosilica, which is now 50,000 tons per annum they are producing, right? Which has gone into tire industry. They have become one of the major suppliers of silica to varieties of industries. We have started the prebiotic, fructooligosaccharides, nutraceutical. So we have created two new domains for Tata Chemicals. For it to, and sodium bicarb, we created another product from the same process of generating sodium carbonate. Bicarb comes as a sideline product. We took that and made it to another product now for Tata Chemicals. So it is through R&D, Tata Chemicals has expanded from being just a major player in two, salt and soda ash, I would say, to now 4+ major player, 4+ ingredients major player. So it has just doubled it because of R&D. Had in-house R&D not been there, they wouldn't have reached to this point, right? So every company has an R&D, no matter which domain they are in. Be it a semiconductor industry, that too has a R&D, right? So it becomes necessary that these R&D units are manned by people who are well trained in pure science, right? So pure science grads means if you have really done your subject well, there's no question of not getting a good job. And I would tell you one more thing: these jobs are very, very a pure science person getting into R&D. It is a very, very enjoyable life. The reason is you continue to create constantly. You are on the path of innovation all your life. And creation is always joy, right? There is something unknown you are trying to reach out to, right? There is something unknown you are discovering. So there's no routine, there's no monotony in this life. Absolutely no monotony. Every day is new and every challenge is exciting. So there's enough scope for pure science. I would say they don't need to think twice. There's enough scope and it's going to grow. It's not going to reduce, it's going to grow. In fact, as I told you at the very beginning, because of AI, it's going to grow even further.
Absolutely. So, couple of things coming into mind. Yesterday I was reading the Times of India, two articles in separate pages talked about almost 40, 50 engineering colleges based out of Hyderabad not being able to place any of their students, 0% placements. So parents are actually worried. At the same time, people would have actually given a lot of these JEE mains exams, a lot of competitive exams. If you look at the percentage, very, very few people actually get into the top institutes like IIT, NITs, and the RECs as such. And a major population is actually left off even after giving the competitive exams as such. So giving that kind of population, parents also will be worried, okay, our child has not got into what exactly he wanted to. And they will be definitely looking for options. I think what you are actually saying would make a lot of sense because you're giving practical insights, naming industries, and giving a kind of a learning career path for them as well, sir. So thanks a lot for your information and insight. It will be very useful for parents. There's another question, sir. You are principal scientist and head of Tata Chemicals Innovation Center in Pune, managing verticals across nanotechnology, fuel cells, nutraceuticals, paints and coatings, agri solutions, and waste to value solutions. What did that role actually look like on a day-to-day basis, and what did it demand of a chemist that no other background could have provided? You gave extensive information previously. Anything else you want to add?
As I said, every day was exciting. Even to this day, actually, every day is exciting because we are constantly, we are into right now. What am I doing? We are creating the first fungal biotechnology based company in our country, right? The whole of nutrition we are developing from out of fungal biotechnology, right? But there, coming back to your question, every day was very exciting because multiple um, sectors we were actually interacting with each of them, understanding the problem. We used to, in fact, travel. We used to, when it is to do with the tea or coffee plantations, we used to travel to those places. If it is something to do with Tata Motors, we used to go to Tata Motors, sit in the company, sit in the actual floor, factory floor, right, and see what is the problem, what is it that they are actually wanting, right? How light should it be? What are they right now using? How, what other modifications can be done? So it was constantly, and the application of chemistry was non-stop. There was no gap at all. Everywhere. In fact, we created a prototype of a fuel cell, cost-effective fuel cell. We fitted it into Tata Motors bus. We ran it in the Tata Motors campus. So it was every day was exciting for us, and it was fun. But I would just say a single word which completes this whole, even to this day, this career means with respect to, I won't call it job because it's too monotonous a word. It is fun for me because it's that kind of innovation that happens constantly.
Absolutely. So a couple of questions on, I think, the your CTO at Nagarjuna Fertilizers and CSO at an affiliate of Shapoorji Pallonji Group. So for parents listening, what does a CTO or CSO role actually mean in terms of responsibility, decision making, authority, and compensation?
Yeah. So, with respect to responsibility, it is the responsibility of the CSO or the CTO to define the way forward, to identify what new products can be added to to the business, right? And how do we really increase the top line, the bottom line of the business, right? Through innovative products that we can launch year on year, right? That strategic designing is done at the CTO's office, right? And then what technology should we use for that? Whom all should we get? What are the kind of expertise needed? Whom should we therefore take into our teams, right? How should we define the project? And post that it is day-to-day running of the project. Watch how it actually is progressing. Are we facing any challenges? Then how do we change our strategy? How do we move in such a way that we overcome the challenge that we get? So all this CTO overviews, right? So it is in short, what does the CTO do? As I just now told you, we create new products and new opportunities for the business in which, or the company in which we are working. We create the new products, and therefore through our new products only the top line of the company really becomes keeps going up and up, right? So that's how we create value for the company. And in the process, I would say even another very important thing, we create jobs for the many more around us, because a new product is developed means a new factory is set up. New factory is set up means jobs for so many more. So the society around you also gets benefited through this innovation, right? And then coming to your last word, remuneration, it's as good as a CFO, or means you may take a role of a finance officer. What is the remuneration they get? It's as good as that. Okay, or a MD or a CEO. Remunerations are competitive to that scale. Yeah.
Another question on CUT. I think you're a professor of practice at CUT, and What's the single most dangerous gap you see between what chemistry students are taught and what industry actually needs from them on day one?
Yeah. So unfortunately, chemistry is being taught right now in our country as a subject to be learned on rot, right? Somehow though actually one of the simplest of the subjects is chemistry, right? It's one of the easiest to understand. But unfortunately, the understanding of the basic fundamental understanding of chemistry is not being given. It's just the final reactions or the behavior. They call it properties. In fact, I feel very odd when you say properties of a substance or a molecule. It's a behavior. It's not a property. It's a behavior. Why does it behave that way? Why does an individual behave the way he or she is behaving? HR tells us this is the background, this is how their life experiences have been, and therefore they are behaving this way. Similar is the case with a molecule. This is the structure of the molecule, this is how its electronic configuration is, this is how the electronic cloud is distributed, and therefore it behaves this way. It's as simple as that, right? That kind of the understanding is not being, unfortunately, it's not being provided. So when they come on, they are unable to straight away apply the chemistry knowledge for problem solving. It takes time for them to go through that, understand for that particular domain area, how the chemistry is getting explained, why is it happening this way. So they get deeper and deeper into the subject as they get into a job. And then 2, 3 years down the line, they start contributing. When they come on, and what I'm seeing whenever we interview the youngsters, I'm seeing that they're at a very, very superficial level. They've learned and from.
So,
So if they can spend time now that AI has come and all the varieties of softwares are available, if they can understand, visualize the molecule, understand at a molecular level why a particular reaction is happening, why it cannot happen in any other way, right? See, I always used to tell the students during my teaching, human beings you can't predict. The reason is we have a mind. So we may behave some in a particular fashion till now. Suddenly we may change our behavior, right? But a molecule doesn't have any such problem. It will behave forever the way, once you understand why a molecule is behaving that way, what is making it behave that way. No matter where you take it, its behavior is going to remain the same. So it's completely predictable, right? So unfortunately, that predictive aspect of chemistry is not being taught. It's being taught as an empirical science,
a lot of
which is not.
teachers, lot of
You know,
teachers and research scholars and professors, associate professors will be listening to this podcast, sir. So, any hints and tips in terms of how to teach chemistry the right way from you?
I would say a simple way is to actually make these students visualize the molecular world. I always go take this example. See, for that matter, what we see in chemistry books, you see a CS3 Cl reacting with NaOH, we write, right? That's all language. It's a chemistry language. CS3 Cl or CS3 OH is a language. Language, in language, what happens? Every word, there is a visual connect to it because of which we understand the language. Just go back to you yourself, or you just look at your children when they were small. How did we teach them? Ram ate an apple, if you say. We have actually given them visual connect of what Ram means. A human, a boy, or a man, right? Eating, we show them visual. Apple, either we show a real apple or we show a figure. That is how we learn language. Language is always learned by visual support. You just sit back and think for yourself. Can whatever I'm now saying, you're understanding it so fast because every word of this has a visual support at the back end.
Yes.
And therefore the mind immediately understands everything, that there's absolute clarity. Right? This is missing in present day teaching. There is no visual support. CS3OH or a paper actually is talking about a reality called methanol. And methanol has a particular electronic cloud distribution, right? So that visual connect has to come in. It takes little time actually. It's not at all difficult. It takes very little time. And once the student gets hooked onto it, no? And after that, understanding chemistry, you don't need to study chemistry. After that, you will just see molecule. The minute you see the molecule, you will know how it behaves and where, in what conditions, how it will behave. And therefore, how can I modify it to make it behave the way I want it to behave? Right? Everything becomes absolutely simple. So that visual support, and nowadays, see, when we were studying, all this wasn't there. Nowadays, you have whole space-filled models and everything available on laptop screens. So that actually they can see how a reaction flow happens, how it interacts, and why is it interacting the way it's interacting, and how the product is formed, right? So that visualization support, if all of us can push the students to take to that and make them understand what they see on the book is only a language, and language has to be understood only through visualization. I think that the rest of it is pretty straightforward.
Great. I think we talked about the mythbusters, but I think I'll go through the questions, and anything else which comes to you, please share. Again, biggest fear parents have is job security, engineering, medicine actually feels safe. You touched upon it, but I'll ask you, is chemistry, specifically industrial and applied chemistry, actually an unstable career? Or is this perception based on outdated data?
So I would say, first and foremost, we already discussed this, right? There are a number of opportunities for pure science graduates. There's no dearth of opportunity. First part is that. Coming to chemistry per se, among all the pure sciences, chemistry is, as we just now across the last 1 hour we discussed, it is applied through across industries, across the board, right? So a chemist getting a job is not at all a challenge, provided I would only add one caveat to this. The chemist really has learned his or her subject properly, right? If they have not given attention to it and they have not learned any subject, any profession, just as you mentioned just now, engineering colleges are finding it difficult. If they have not learned engineering properly, no amount of degree is going to help them get a good opening, right? So the good opening is definitely based on them putting effort to learn this curriculum course properly. But chemist not getting a job, a good chemist not getting a job, I would say is a rarity. Easily they will find an opportunity. And if they are good at it, they will climb up the ladder very fast. Right?
Absolutely. Again, we should touch on a few questions on roadmap and actionable steps, sir. If a student today is passionate about chemistry and scores 90% in their class 12 boards, which institutions would you specifically recommend for a BSc or BSMS program in India? What makes IICR or IISc or CUTM different from a regular state university?
Yeah. So ICERs are very good for BScs. The reason is the curriculum is very well designed for them to actually get the grasp of the subject. See, fundamentally, you have to look at the curriculum. The curriculum is designed in such a way that this mechanistic aspects, this depth of the subject is properly made to understand by a student. That kind of curriculum should be chosen, right? So ICERs do give that. In fact, our alma mater, Research Science of Higher Learning, gives that. Our syllabus is as good as ICERs, or I would say in some cases even better than ICERs syllabus that way, right? Then universities such as CUTM and these immediately connect the classroom pure science teaching to immediately an experiential learning outside. That's why CUTM is different. It's a technological university which concentrates predominantly on technology. they teach the pure science, immediately take them to the field. Suppose agriculture, chemistry is being taught, immediately they take them to the field and actually make them see how a fertilizer is actually, how urea is actually dissolving and what happens in the soil, right? So that kind of connect is immediately given so that the person not only understands the pure science, but its application immediately, right? So universities which are right now moving to, in fact, to the towards that direction, they can take to that.
Um, and you actually span pharma, nutraceuticals, cosmetics, agri formulations. Which of these verticals is most hungry for chemistry talent right now, and which is most likely to pay well over the next 5 to 10 years, sir?
A very tricky question, I would say, but means the next 5 to 10 years, as I see, energy is going to become one of the major industries down the line. Agri also is going to grow quite substantially because all natural solutions have to be looked at, right? So across, I would say, pharma anyway, healthcare. See, healthcare, agri are evergreen industries. No matter what happens to the world around us, world war or no world war, these two are going to the food, the healthcare and agri. Agri means food industry. Agri means not just the agri, the food tech,
Yeah.
followed by food tech. Agri is the back end. It moves on into the food tech and nutrition, nutraceuticals, and then healthcare. So these are evergreen. Added to that, futuristically, I think energy is be another segment which is going to grow quite substantially. Right, innovations in energy are going to be future for the world. How innovative can we be to get alternate energy and not just depend on fuel energy, right? Will require a lot of innovation in chemistry. Tremendous amount of innovations there will be required. I think that major industries might focus on that down the line, right? So these are the three segments as I see are going to be vital and are going to be evergreen for the next couple of decades to come, for certain.
Sure, sir. What is one internship or certification or early career move that you wish someone had told you about when you were 20?
Actually, there are good summer internships that are provided by University of Science or even IITs. Nowadays, even ISS are giving that. So, getting a summer internship during your post graduation will really open up the mind to the vast applications, vast dimensions of the subject in which they are taken to, right? Be it physics, biology, chemistry, whatever. No? You move during the PG time, the summer should not be wasted. They should immediately move to an internship opportunity. They're all application based, right? If they attempt almost because there are number of seats available across EPC. So if you attempt and get into these big institutes, premier in the sense they're big, they're large, there are number of departments all around. There's so many students who are there, right? So when you get into that kind of institutions, what happens is the young mind starts flowering, starts seeing all that variety that is possible, right? So that possibilities will actually excite the individual. So it is necessary that every youngster, no matter in which college they are right now going to do their undergrad, they should attempt to move to big labs. On some, in fact, even the CSIR labs are give internship courses, opportunities. Move to big labs. So living there for few months, looking around what's happening, will expand the mind, right? It is just like I'm sure in human behavior, we see more of nature, more of vast expanse, open spaces, mind opens up, right? Similar is in the case of sciences too, means education too. Opportunity should be seen by the youngster. No matter how much we tell them, the mind doesn't really open up. They have to really go and experience it for a couple of months. So summer internships, I would say, are very good opportunities right from, I think if it is available right from undergrad itself, they should. And nowadays, even foreign universities are giving. And if people have the opportunity to go abroad, or even better, go look around, understand how the subject is being utilized, right? And then come back, their own thinking process will start growing there.
So the last two questions are on typically Monday homework for parents, one question for parents, one for students. So if a parent is listening to this episode right now, still unsure about their child's BSc chemistry dream, what is the one company name or one salary number and one role title you would give them to Google tonight that would change their mind?
Okay. Very okay. I would say look at pharma, any of the pharma companies, be it Dr. Reddy's, right? Be it Glenmark or any of the pharma companies, Cipla, Jubilant, right? These are in the pharma world. Then ask them to look at the agri, Monsanto, BASF, and so on, right? Ask them to even look at the chemicals company, Tata Chemicals, right? The Aditya Birla Chemicals, right? Shriram Chemicals, right? Then agri companies, Sudarshan Agri, then you have Fortis India Private Limited, Coromandel, you have IFCO. All of these, just Google any of these, you will see there's enough opportunity for pure science persons to get in, right? A MSc to get in, I would say. To put it even more clearly, MSc can get into any of these institutes, right? And for MSc, if you do PhD, it's the start salary is much higher. MSc is little lower, but it's very quite good. I would say it's not as good as a BTech guy would get. BTech also is 5 years, 4 to 5 years. BSc MSc also is more or less now 4 to 5. It's 4 years now BSc with this new education policy NEP, right? 4+1 it is now, same 5 years. So same 5 years. So you are more or less competitive and far more stable job. See, they should also think of the stability of the job as compared to engineering career. It's the world there is you make hay as long as the sun shines, and after that you don't know what happens, right? A monsoon may come and sun may not shine at all for a while, right? So that's the life of a IT and data science graduate. Whereas here, you are once you enter, till you want to get out of it, you are there almost.
And then one last question for the student. What's the first step they should take this Monday morning if they want to follow a path like yours?
They should first understand, means go through the sciences, start reading. Reading is very, very essential. They should not, in fact, that's a habit which will help them moving away from this very short span attention because of the various media that we are having. You have to tend to train yourself to move away from that and start reading books on the sciences of your choice, right? And make the choice of your subject not immediately. I would say get into them, go through for 1 or 2 years, then make up your mind which of the subject really you will be passionate about. See, fundamentally, the individual has to get passionate about the subject. Then and only then there's joy in the whole journey, right? And this holds good whether you do engineering, whatever. It doesn't matter what you do. But the thing is that passion for the subject has to come in. Either you take it because your parents have told, then get passionate about it, or you become passionate and choose your own subject and take to it, whichever way. I got passionate about chemistry because Bhagavan told me to take chemistry, and post that I just got passionate. And I then realized that I have a natural flair for this subject. That's why Bhagavan had told me to take it. That's all.
Absolutely, sir. So one last question. I was actually going through, as part of, because Chaitanya was interested in chemistry, I was going through my batchmates' profile in terms of how exactly they plan their, learning as such. So few of them, and just wanted your opinion on that. They actually took the BSc, MSc route. One of them did MPhil, I think, at Central University, then moved for a PhD in Germany, Geneva. and nicely settled in Roche as such. Another,
Just one point here. Even the PhD, the stipend that they get during PhD is very, very good. Now, in fact, Government of India has increased the stipend of the JRF as well as SRF, means Junior Research Fellow, followed by Senior Research Fellow. First 2 years to 3 years is JRF, then you get into SRF. The pay scale is pretty good, it's as good as your bank officer.
yes.
Yeah. So, what's the problem in doing PhD? I would say that, right? You're getting a degree, you're also being paid, right?
So
Yeah,
in
go ahead. Yeah.
the learning path. So after BS and MS, what's the question? So we're basically looking for options. So some of the batchmates actually, instead of going for PhD after the MSc chemistry as such, did bridge courses. One did a MPhil in Central University, Hyderabad. One actually did computational biophysics course at IISc. Another you actually suggested the gate route. So did MTech in IIT Delhi. So even after the 4+1, so BS and MS, the path to PhD looks pretty different, sir. What's your take on
Yeah,
it?
yeah. See, there are various ways, but there are persons who have written CSAR immediately during MSc or after MSc and then get into PhD straight away, right? Or alternately, you join an industry, get industrial experience. Using the industrial experience, actually abroad, you get PhD options. Because of industry experience, they take you for PhD. MSc postgrad followed by industry experience, go abroad, do a doctoral. If you want, do a postdoctoral, and so on. So that's the path. And see, once you do a doctorate degree, you are the whole of academic world is open for you across the globe. You can become a faculty anywhere, right? Be it India, be it anywhere, you can become a faculty. So the whole of faculty means the academic world is such a large world, and saying that job opportunity isn't there is just a imagination, I would say, right? So
Absolutely.
there's huge opportunity there.
I think it's basically a huge perception problem from a parent's
Yeah,
standpoint. I think
that's all.
you've answered a lot of questions, a lot of insights, practically kind of given a roadmap in terms of how the learning should be and where exactly they should be focusing on. That actually helps a lot, for both at the parents and the students level. Also, I think you advise to the teachers, associate, and professors as such in terms of how exactly they should teach chemistry. So, in terms of what we went through today, I think you started off with your journey of chemistry. Uh, and the fact which I'm really loving the fact is that you're so excited to talk about it, so which means so much of love for the subject as such, which was really lovely to see throughout. So we looked at your career deep dive, the real work which you did as a principal scientist and head of Tata Chemicals Innovation Center in Pune, or as a CTO at Nagarjuna Fertilizers and CSO at the Shapoorji Pallonji Group, and also as a professor of practice now at CUTM. We looked at a lot of mythbusters, the objections that typical parents actually have. On BSc opens few doors, and BTech, I think you crushed them through very practical examples. Uh, we looked at a quick roadmap and actionable steps that students can actually take, and also homework for parents and students in terms of how they can plan the learning path for themselves or basically for their children. So thanks a lot, sir. I think from my experience, I came up with these questions, but I think you are deep into the ocean of chemistry. Anything else which I actually missed? Anything you want to add? Please go ahead.
So just enjoy learning the subjects. It is joy, as I told you, it is joy learning pure sciences because you really see nature at a from a very different perspective. So that gives you a kind of joy. See, understanding what's happening around you is joy in itself. You don't need some other separate incentive to be really happy about, right? Understanding this, in fact, raso vai saha rasagguhyevayam laktvanti bhavati, they say. Our Upanishad say raso vai saha, the divine is rasa, right? Is filled with essence. And it's a little too much of extension or I would say one-sided interpretation. But all the same, because as I told you, I'm from chemistry. I see this rasa as a part of this subject, right? And I can really touch that divinity through this subject. I see that beauty of the divine functioning all around me in every blade of a grass to a sound that a bird makes, right? There's so much that's happening. It's so fascinating the whole molecular world is. So that is that raso vaisaha. And what Upanishads continues to say is rasaguhye vayam labdhva anandi bhavati. One who gets this rasa is anandi bhavati. He'll be happy. He or she will be happy. So that is possible through the pure sciences approach. Technology is all the time about external and application. Deeper within is what is science, pure science. And anything that is deeper invariably touches the divinity, which is the deepest, right? So therefore, there's joy in this journey. That's what I would say.
You've done a full circle, sir, really, I think. The worldly, the connectivity to the divinity, especially the chemistry example you gave, is lovely. I think you representing chemistry was really full of love, I should say. And I really hope parents, teachers, associate professors, the PhD scholars, and especially the students find a lot of insights and learning from this particular podcast. So thank you so much. And I will definitely pull you back into another session where we can give a lot of clarity to parents and students in India. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Thanks for this opportunity. Thank you, Ravi. Sai Ram.